Well, Anita, we know each other personally, which is always
We
nice.
do.
To be interviewing someone I know and to sort of be in the same space. And so I'm really looking forward to a really juicy and meaty discussion today to awakening to purpose. And so many of us spend our lives looking for this elusive purpose. But it is a fruitless exercise. Tell me why it's pointless looking for your purpose.
Yeah, so thanks for having me, Petra. It's beautiful to be here with you today. So waking up to purpose is something that came about for me about a year ago with a couple of women that I work with, because I was hearing so many people, particularly women, speaking of purpose. What's my purpose? What am I doing here? I can't find what I'm supposed to be doing, and I've never found it. And through that process, I really started to look into what this was for people, and really, in short, in my work as a coach, working one-on-one with people, and then in the workshop space, is really what stops us from realizing what our purpose is. So we sort of did it in reverse. And what we came to was what really stops people from knowing what their purpose is their mind, is their programming, is their thought patterns, is the way that they talk to themselves, the negative self-talk, even the positive self-talk. So it's this continual cycle of being in here, contradicting ourselves, judging ourselves, all of this stuff that then gets in the way of us being able to choose what we want to do as a job or as a career, or being a parent or whatever it is. So really it's a lot to do with our mind that really stops us from realizing our purpose.
Yeah, and I love that. And I reflect on my own life when I prepare for these things, and the only time I ever look for my purpose is when things aren't going the way I want them to go. Like when, so pretty much I have this idea of how I want life to be, and it's not that way. And so that's the only time I ever look for purpose. So have you found that with your clients too? Is there a particular time in their life when they start going, hang on, what I've got now is not working for me anymore, so now I'm feeling unfulfilled and therefore I'm looking for my purpose?
Yeah, I definitely think that's definitely a thing. We get to a point in our lives, especially sort of around the age that I'm at, that I came to, was for many of my clients and friends and people I know, is we may have gone to uni or studied and done all that, and then in the 20s it was all about earning the money. It was a really big drive for starting to make money, more in that kind of masculine space as we spoke about earlier. And then maybe more going into 30s up to 40s is then, I've done this for so long now and I've made this money and whatever it is, what now? Like, what is next? It's like we then move into this space where we want to be more of service or whatever it is. So definitely. And also, I think to add to that is there's a really big buzzword at the moment about purpose.
Yes, I was just going to bring that up, because in the personal development space, passion and purpose are hot topics, aren't they?
Yeah. So part of that, I'm going to say now, is our social conditioning. We are now being socially conditioned to be looking for a purpose. That's what I'm getting at. It's like our environment, everything. We're hearing this word purpose so much that it's now getting people to start to question, even if it's not true for themselves. They may have been completely happy in their role, but suddenly this word purpose is everywhere. And now we're going to start questioning what we actually have been okay doing, because we're now hearing that there's this thing called purpose that we should be looking for.
Well, that's so interesting. It's so interesting as you say that. I'm reflecting on a TED Talk I listened to ages ago, and I'll probably butcher the hell out of this. But it was really about the premise of following your passion. And it was saying that that's a really new concept, because before you would do what your parents did, and then we got wealthier as a society, and then we could sort of choose a little bit what we wanted to do, like go to university, and now it's moved on again to finding your passion. And we are definitely in an environment where we are told we can be bigger than we are. You are extraordinary, and are you living a life less than what you're here to do? And it creates such dissatisfaction. Like, how do we become consciously aware of what's real for us and what's programming?
So true, and it's so true. It's it's just speaking to what you were saying. It's like it causes it creates a paradox. It creates duality. So we're talking about purpose. So whilst we're trying to find this amazing thing called purpose, at the same time, what we're creating is the lack. It's like, it's exactly what you just said. It's now we're in a struggle because there's this amazing thing that I don't have, which will be amazing when I have it. But whilst I don't have it, I'm at the other end of it, which is the struggle, which is the lack. So it's all there. So what I do in working with people, it seemingly is around how I'm going to help you to discover your purpose in your job or in, whatever it is your the next thing, traveling the world, whatever that may be for you. But what we actually do is we actually start waking up to ourselves. So instead of waking up to the purpose in theory of the job or whatever is the end product of choice. But before that, what we're looking at is the programming. How's your mind running? How's your body functioning? So it's about what's stopping you from realizing your purpose. So it's what, as I said at the start, it's the programs that are basically created by the age of 7. So we've got these programs that are running our minds, creating our personality, that have all been formed by the age of 7, 8, 9, whatever it is. And then by the time we're 20, 30, 40, 50, we're still running the programs of this 7-year-old. So it's looking really deeply at how we have formed our personality and how we have formed our thinking structures, bringing out of subconscious to conscious awareness how we do ourselves. And once we can see that, oh, I'm really judging myself. I really can't make decisions. I'm mismatching my decision making. I'm contradicting myself. I'm constantly in mind. So the first point is to start to see that. Once we can start to see that, we then have choice of whether it's working for us. Do I need to change these patterns? Sometimes I don't. I can see them and they're working for me. The majority of the time they're not. So that's where the process now starts.
So now I understand what you're saying, because from a coaching perspective, but if I had to look at it from someone just listening in, how then do I identify my subconscious patterning?
Get a coach. You're not going to see and this is the real key point of this. Like we can go on courses and we can get whatever that is, but these programs have been running since this high. You ain't going to see that on your own. It's been running the show for so long. It's on autopilot. Judging yourself is on autopilot. Talking to yourself negatively is on talking to yourself positively. Worst case scenario thinking, best case scenario thinking. All of these ways that we have, been brought up are running 95%, they say, we run in our subconscious, unconscious mind. So you're not going to see that on your own. So it's really about how do we wake up to ourselves with help. So whatever that is for you, for the person, reading, whether it's going to courses, doing whatever, pick a good one and that will help you. The work that I do is in human behaviour. Find some really good human behaviour coaches or courses, some really good ones, because there's a lot out there, but they're not necessarily, going to show you what you really need to see. So that's the advice. It's like driving a car. So when we first start to learn to drive a car, we're really conscious and really present of where the gears are, where I need to look, where I'm checking. And then after a while, it's autopilot. That's how we do ourselves. We're conscious of our behaviours and our patterning and doing all of that at that age. And then we're driving autopilot for the rest of our lives.
I wonder, I heard this, I guess, they say if you want to actually see what your patterns are, if you want to get some awareness, look at your life. What do you think about that?
So say more.
Don't say more. Expand on the question.
Give me that life. What do you mean by life?
So look at your external environment. So maybe if you have a very successful business, yet your relationships are a shambles, then maybe you have a programming around relationships. So anything, maybe if once again your relationships are amazing, but you're morbidly obese, you may have some programming about your self-love relationships. So can we look at our lives and sort of deduce something about our programming?
Absolutely. So look at the external environment, look at the external world, and then bring it in. Self-inquiry. So external to internal, and this is it, it's okay, so I can see that I'm hanging out with these people and it's actually not doing me that good, or I'm eating this food, and so what is it all on behalf of? And that's the self-inquiry then, is the questioning of how is this impacting this, and why am I making these external choices? So external to internal, we can go that way. So it's always, a lot of the time it will be out here, seemingly, like my purpose is out here. Well, your purpose is actually in here. So the inquiry is always here first, then that. Whereas a lot of the time we think it's external to internal. I'm going to change this. I'm going to move somewhere else. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to change my job. I'm going to start this relationship. Honeymoon period. All good, great, loving it. 6 months down the line, whatever that might be, something uncomfortable is arising again. Do I need to change? No. Look here. It's all here. And the minute we can change this doesn't matter anymore. We can be wherever and we'll be okay. We'll be happy.
It sounds so easy when you say it. Just come within. You'll be fine. And yet, that is probably the greatest challenge because the programming, I think, first of all, from day dot, is look at external validation. And unintentionally, it starts with parenting. I need to, please my parents, and I need to do what they say. And then it gets to school, and we have to get these marks and stuff. So how do we start? Because it's so easy going, look internal, but one, if we are functioning mostly unconsciously, that we're not even aware, and two, how do we just start?
So firstly is awareness. So as you say, where do we start is seeing it. So it's, as you say, we're 95% unconscious, so we're not going to see it. So even from this conversation here, if this even sparks something for someone to go, I'm going to start looking. So rather than being in it, it's like rather than being in the painting, in it, I'm going to take a step back and look at the painting. So it's like starting to become objective to your thinking. So again, I'm going to say it, get a coach, get some help, because it's not going to be that easy. If this has sparked something, if this conversation is sparking something, then that's it, to start to take a step back from and whether that's, at the end of the day, a reflection on whether it's journaling, however that needs to be done, whatever that is for someone, to start seeing, how have I been talking to myself today, and how much time have I spent in here judging myself, worst case scenario, even excitement, even, visioning stuff. How much time have I spent in here versus how much time have I been in presence, really in my creative space? Because that 5% that we're not in most of the time, well, we're in the 95, that remaining 5% is our creativity, it's our presence, it's the potential of us, it's all there. So I don't know if people can relate to this, but it's like, so how many aha moments may we have when we're in the shower or when we're sitting on the toilet or whatever
all the
that
time
is.
in the shower.
Yeah. And a lot of the time that's because we're allowing ourselves out of here. Sometimes we're not, but at times we are, and we're just there with the water on us, whatever that is, enjoying that or just being there with that. And that's really where that creative spark can come in, and you have this aha moment or this idea or whatever it is, because you've given yourself a chance to stop this and be with here. So there's this emergence of space then outside of the thinking mind, which is where the creativity can come in.
So once again, because I know the resistance that will come up for this, right? So I'm a businesswoman running multi-million-dollar business. I've got the family, the story. I've got the house. I've got responsibilities. I literally don't have a minute to myself in the day, and now I'm feeling unfulfilled, I'm feeling like angsty, I'm feeling shit. But now I'm supposed to be taking time out for myself, I'm supposed to be present. Where do I find the space and the time to do that? You know, that's what comes up for people, right? And I love the word you keep using, which is choice. And I feel, what was that term? We forget about choice. Talk to me a little bit about that and how we can remind the women out there that everything in life is a choice.
Yeah. So what happens once we can start to see that we're running on this autopilot? Because whilst we're in autopilot, we don't have choice. We think that this is the only way, this is the way that I am, this is the only way that there is. I have no choice. I have to go to work. I have to do this. I have to do that. Do you? And people go, well, yeah, I have to because I need to pay the mortgage and do that. So do you need to live in that particular house to pay the mortgage? Well, I really want to live there. Okay, so you want to live there. So see that you're choosing to live there. So you're choosing to go to that job and earn that amount of money or whatever it is. It's a choice so that you can live your lifestyle. And if someone wants to then change, because that's, you know, I'm going to change this, or just change your language. So rather than saying I have to go to work and do this, I'm choosing to go to work because I want to maintain this lifestyle and this house and all of this stuff. Or actually, is it really relevant to me? And maybe I'll downsize and not work as much. And that's where choice is. So whilst we're running on autopilot, there isn't choice.
That's so interesting that you say that. I've never actually thought about it that way. When you're running on autopilot, you don't have choice because you're not present. So you're just running on autopilot. That's really interesting. So that's why that choice word doesn't come up, right? It's not I have to, it's I get to.
Yeah.
And that's really, really interesting. I've never really thought of it that way. I really love that.
Yeah.
So I've become aware of my programming. I want to do something about it, but I'm not quite ready to invest in a coach. Okay, because I don't understand coaching quite, and I'm not quite sure, and it's all new to me. So I want to go and do some programs. Okay, but as we said before, and this is a real gripe of mine, that there are so many programs out there that are feeding off this passion purpose epidemic, and the personal development space is a multi-billion-dollar industry. If women want to go ahead and look at courses, like because I really want to point out what are flawed courses. I don't know if you know, I don't know if you've ever thought, but what do they need to, what are the danger signs? What do you need to look out for? That you don't just get sucked in, you don't become a course junkie, that you don't just pay thousands of dollars for empty promises. We've all been there, I've been in many times. But yeah, I just really want to give women a heads up if you do want to start this inquiry and you do choose to take a course, what do you need to look out for so you don't get taken for a ride?
So this is going to go back to something that actually me and you spoke of earlier before the interview, and that's around what feels right for you. Because what may feel right for you and you're going to get your results from may not suit me. So any of this stuff is individual, whether it's coaching, whether it's yoga, whether it's meditation, whether it's dancing, singing, as we spoke of earlier, whether it's going out and getting drunk, whatever that is for you, pick that thing that works for you. And if you believe that it will work for you, then it will work for you. If you give it the meaning that this is going to work for me, then it will work for you. So there might be stuff out there that someone comes away and goes, don't go there because they're just trying to take your money and I learned nothing. And I had an example of this the other day actually. And someone else then went to it and had an amazing experience and they're just like flying now. So it's perspective. So we can never really say, there might be people out there that are trying to do whatever. But my belief is that most people are trying to provide a service for people. It just may not be received in the way that each individual wants it to be received. So I don't think it's as black and white as, someone's experience may be very different from someone else. So I would say the first thing again is going inside. So trusting yourself, trusting your gut, trusting does this feel right for me? Go with that. Because I went, before I found the school that I trained through, I went to a few different ones and tried them out, and it just wasn't landing. And then I found this one and actually asked to meet the person for a coffee and got a feel for it. And that's I went from there, and I was like, yeah, this is the company that I want to train through. So yeah.
One thing I've really started to practice in my own life is really the only way I know something to be true is to experience it. That is really it.
Yeah.
So everything else is just an accumulation of what I've read or what I've heard, and I don't know that to be true. And so we live in an environment where we live off reviews, you know, when you run your business, you hear this reviews. And exactly as you articulated, one person's experience is a different person's experience. So there really isn't. So when people look for their purpose, once again, they're so busy looking at how others have done it. What questions, you did mention one, like, does this feel right for me? Are there any other questions that women can start asking themselves to bring them closer to coming into the inquiry?
So the number one I would say is what's stopping me? So what's stopping me from seeing this? And that's really the way to kind of maybe work back from there, because I don't know. So what I may be able to know is what is it that's stopping me? Yeah, and that's a big one. And again, that's it's looking at what is it within me that's stopping me from doing. And someone might sit there and say, oh, actually, it's what's stopping me? Well, I'm going out and I'm drinking every night of the week. It's those sort of questions.
Yeah.
So it doesn't need to be some, it's okay.
Doesn't have to be this deep.
Yeah, that's things like what's stopping me? Well, I'm spending 60 hours a week at work. So how have I got time to do anything else? To go on a course or read a book? What's stopping me from doing that? So it's simple things. Don't have to go really massive. Just what stops me from taking that time for myself? Those 5 minutes in the day. And for some people, although they say they really want this, to be still when people are so busy, obviously, women that are very busy in their lives, can be quite confronting. When they do find that space and have that stillness, it can be quite confronting. What do I do now in this stillness?
Yeah.
I'm not used to this. It's actually quite uncomfortable. Maybe the reason that I am working so many hours and doing all of this stuff is because I'm actually quite comfortable in that. Even though it's stressing me out and I'm overwhelmed, I don't know any different. And this now is quite uncomfortable to be still.
Yeah, that's very true. I wonder when we search for purpose, what does purpose even mean?
That's the $1 million question. And we can ask 100 different women, men, whatever, and get very different answers. So when we do our workshops, we do ask people, what does it mean to you? And we hear different things. So it's individual to every individual. So sometimes people don't even know. So they're looking for this thing and they actually don't even know what the word is. Yeah, what meaning they're even attributing to the word purpose. And some people will go through this process and actually their discovery is, I'm actually okay in this job. I'm actually okay, and all I've done now is I've changed the way that I look at it and the meaning that I'm bringing to it, and actually I'm okay doing this for now, until they're not anymore.
It's such an interesting one, because when I was relationship coaching as well, I'd say to women, well, what kind of relationship are you looking for? And the common answer was always like, oh, I'll know when I find it.
Will you?
Sure you will. Let me know, if that's your belief, but if that were the case, you would have found it by now, surely. It's like getting in your car and just driving aimlessly around and going, well, I'll know the house when I find it, right? Yeah. I think that's a real stumbling block, is know what you're looking for.
Yeah.
And often, as you said, what we're looking for is a feeling, because we're feeling something, we're feeling unfulfilled, but yet we don't understand it's a feeling, we think it's a thing, So tell me a little bit, we're talking about finding the purpose within and understanding our programming. When I really, for my own curiosity, because I love to know how things work, talk to me how the mind works. Like, how does a program form? Like, is there a neurological pathway that forms? I just want to understand how that happens, so I can sort of get a bit more of an understanding that when something does happen, I can be aware of that process, and when I'm aware of it, I can make the changes with the help of a coach, preferably, because that's easier. But even just to drive that awareness.
So going back to what I was speaking of earlier. So as you know, as young children, we are starting to form our personality, and that is based on the parenting, our the environment, our schooling, who's around us, social media, whatever that is at whatever age, all of that plays into it. So in our formative years, we are forming. So I see that my mum does optimism. I see that my dad does pessimism, but I'm going to somehow choose the more optimistic side. So I'm going to follow my mum's optimistic way of being. Some may choose their dad's, whatever that is. So decision making, I see one of my parents being very, my dad's very strong in his decision making, knows what he's doing, he's very in his authority. So I'm going to take that on. So there's some choice made at that level, for whatever reason that is, that we're picking up these, and we're modelling our parents and our environment and all the rest of it on that. So this is how we then start to form the the pathways in our mind, and these will be fully formed by that's 7, 8, 9 years old. Still very malleable as well. So, when I see small kids now, I can see their programming, their patterning playing out already. And even just talking to them and playing with them a little bit on why they might be more on the negative side. Why do you always say this, or why do you always say that? At that age is actually really a great time to start helping kids be more flexible with their way of thinking, rather than being really in the, say, worst case scenario side, because that's what their parent did. So as we then start to realise these things as we get older, or even it would be nice if that started coming into schooling, then we can start to change those pathways that have been so formed. So by the time we're at our age, they're really deep set now. They're really that pathway is only this way.
Yeah, it's ingrained, baby.
It's ingrained, yeah. So then getting the flexibility it takes practice. So it really does take practice. So say I'm a worst case scenario thinker. I'm always in the future planning for the absolute worst case that can happen. This is how we do anxiety, basically. This is how anxiety is created, because I'm in mind, worrying about the future, planning out how I'm going to avoid all these worst case scenario thinking. So with some work, once we can see that we're constantly in the worst case, how do I now practice the other side of that, which would be best case thinking? So neither are bad or good, but being driven by either one. You don't want to be a total optimist, because sometimes you need a little bit of, that going on. So if we're too optimistic, we can get ourselves into all sorts of trouble as well. So it's seeing that neither end is bad or good. To have flexibility between the worst case and the best case scenario thinking is actually the absolute healthiest expression of us as human beings. Just like with the masculine and feminine that we spoke of earlier, balance. So to have balance and access to both of these ends, when needed, when required in each moment, is the healthiest way that we can live as human beings. Flexibility in our thinking.
I follow Abraham Hicks and Esther Hicks, which is the collective consciousness speaking through Esther. And I've been reading their books, and it says in that book that the only purpose we have here on this time-space reality is to expand through experience, to really come in, engage in life, to expand through what they call contrast, which we would label conflict. What do you think of that statement?
I can see expanding through conflict, as that's said, to see that as what a great opportunity to learn about ourselves from that. So if that's what that's leaning towards, then absolutely. To see every experience that we have in our lives, whether we're calling it conflict again or we're not, to see it as the evolution of us as a human being. So rather than seeing bad or good, right or wrong, seeing scenarios as they happen, as they occur in our lives, you know, whether it's a breakup or you know, whatever that may be, to see it as rather than, you know, it's bad or good, to see it as this is the evolution of me. This is how all those experiences that I've had in my past have brought me to exactly who I am here today, and all of the experiences that I will have as a result of this, to see them as part of our unfolding. So with the conflict, see the conflict as an opportunity to learn about yourself, to learn from. See those people that really piss you off, that really trigger you, as your greatest gift for learning. Because all that is, you know, it's showing you that there's something in you that's actually needing healing. Otherwise, we can just observe behaviours as behaviours and see them and perceive them. But once we're bringing the triggers in, there's the opportunity to learn. Lean into that conflict, you know. That's it. It's all there. It's a big one, and
no,
you know, it's a big one for people. Of course, it is. How's that person that's really pissing me off a gift to me?
I'm getting there. Like I just had a situation a few days ago where, you know, something happened. I was really triggered, and I was able to sort of withdraw from that and go, "Wow, that's great." Because where's the inquiry here? You know, is it fair that women who have successful businesses, who have everything that society labels as success, pull the boohoo card, "I'm so unfulfilled, I haven't found my purpose"? Is it fair? Because often we look at them and go, "Oh, come on. You've got everything." And, oh, boo. Celebrities. Aren't they a perfect example, right? They've got the world at their feet and they're like, "Oh, I'm so depressed." And then they OD on drugs. Is it fair?
Is that the perfect example of where the external is not the fulfillment? So you could have a homeless person on the street that's happier than a celebrity, or a woman with all the money and all of that.
Because I know what often is attached to it is shame and guilt. So when women feel unfulfilled, they've got all this, and then they're like, "I'm not happy." There's such shame attached to that. But yet it's really a normal process of what do we call the stages of development. Yeah. Is it normal to feel that way?
If people are looking for their purpose and their fulfillment outside of them, and they're keeping going and going and going and going because they haven't quite found it, even though they've achieved everything at this point that they thought they were going to achieve, it's still not enough, so they're going to keep going and going, then yeah, that's the struggle.
But if they have achieved what they wanted to achieve, and yet that's not fulfilling them anymore, but they keep doing it, what can they do then?
So see what they're doing to themselves. So what will happen in a lot of those cases is they've got to the point where they've achieved everything that they thought a few years ago they wanted to achieve. So they're completely discounting at this point here how much they've achieved. They're not seeing it because they're still striving for more. So the acknowledgement of, let me just stand here for 1 second and actually take into consideration everything that I've got right here and now. Look at myself a few years ago. What was going on then? Probably wanting all of this. And now you're here and you still want more, because you're not counting everything you've done, and because you're also not realising that all of that you wanted back there wasn't actually external to you, it was internal. So it's that constant seeking of the external, whatever that is the problem. If we could have all of that stuff and be okay with it, there's no problem, because we've done the inner work and we're okay, you know, we've seen that. But whilst we're trying to look for all of this externally, we're kind of distracting ourselves from because there's so much going on. I haven't got time to look inside. There's just no time. I've got no space for this, which is actually the really important thing. And I could be a homeless person on the street and be a lot happier.
I love it, you know what I love about that is we use that in society as an example so much. You're either stinking rich or you're homeless, right? So, like, where's the in-between bit, right? The homeless person is the happy as fuck, and the rich person is so fucking miserable, right? Like, yeah, it's such a...
And the point of that is that there could be absolutely no difference in the internal for both of those, as there could be the opposite, and the richest person could be really happy, the poorest person could be really unhappy, and, you know, both of them could be at exactly the same point regardless of the external. on the internal, they've reached the same place. So they're either happy, sad, good, bad, whatever, regardless of the external.
Yes, and really, like, no, and I laugh.
Yeah, I get it. I get it.
Like, homeless person is very happy. Like,
and that celebrity going, I wish I was that homeless person. It's like, it happens.
Sure, you know,
it's so simple being homeless.
So true. Well, I have to throw the story in here about a homeless person. So, where I live, there's across the road. There's a boarding house for men with mental health issues.
Yeah.
And since moving back to Sydney, I've really been observing many homeless people. So when I moved from Brisbane, that wasn't as evident, and here it really is.
Yeah.
And it's really something that really gets me. Like, once again, I feel there's really no need for that, and I understand the premise around all of that, but for me, and so I kept going, I'd love to speak to a homeless person. So anyway, so I was sitting in the park, and this guy from what we affectionately call the asylum comes shimming over, and he sits down, and he says to me, it turns out he wants to talk to me because according to him, he was really good looking as a young guy, and he's really lonely, and he's looking for some female company. I'm like, yeah, whatever. And he had been homeless for 14 months. And I was like, now tell me, were you happy? Oh, yes, he says. I was drinking bourbon all the time and eating Burger King and fucking having a great time. He's like, I was in Hyde Park and it was social, and I asked this guy for change for a coffee and I got $50. And so I was like, and I love that because there was just this perception that when you're homeless, like you're this poor, you know, I mean, admittedly he has mental health stuff going on for him, right? But that was really comforting for me because I'm like, you know what, it's not always doom and gloom, he's having a whale of a time, right? So that was my homeless story.
But it's the same, and I think of people like, there could be people that are in prison that are fine, because once you've sorted out this, you know, you can be wherever. Your external environment does no longer impact your internal. You can live wherever. You could be in prison. You can actually get a lot of work done in prison. You could meditate loads, you know. There's a lot of opportunity there to get really spiritual.
I'm not going to prison for opportunity, okay? I think the most beautiful example, I haven't read the book, but there's that Viktor Frankl book, is A Man's Search for Meaning, where he was in a concentration camp and and just really did the mind work all the time and came out a whole human being, not bitter or anything. And that is really that extreme and a perfect example of that it is possible.
Yeah. The power of the mind. Yeah.
The power of the mind, really.
Yeah.
Once again, though, it is practical wisdom, right? So I know that you have a method that you teach your clients. So can you share that with our audience, that when they are just going AWOL and life is just getting on top of them, there is a method you've got. So can you please share that with us?
Yeah, so this is something that we share in our workshops and also one-on-one with clients, and it's something that we put together, myself and the girls that I work with, and we call it GASP. So it's GASP. And what GASP stands for is, and this is just to give it a bit of a prefix, is so GASP is for those busy women, those busy men, whoever it is, those people in life where, you know, stuff's just really on top of me right now. I've got the kids screaming at me. My husband wants his dinner, stereotypes.
Totally, right? It's probably humping my leg because he wants sex as well. Like,
and actually, this you can practice whilst having sex. All of this, because we spoke to this earlier, and I was thinking this would be a good one for you, Petra. This is like literally, I'm in the office, I'm on the street, someone's having a go at me, I've got a deadline to reach. So this isn't, I need to run off and get away from this person and go and meditate and go to silence. This is the absolute practice in presence of whatever is in front of me in that moment. So it's called GASP. So when you notice yourself in a state of And this is about noticing ourselves in this, because some people don't have the awareness even to notice when their body's going into anxiety. So it's an awareness of yourself.
So now I just want to stop you there, because you said notice when your body is going into anxiety.
Yeah, or your mate, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So isn't that interesting, right?
Yeah.
So now we have to get out of the mind to notice the body, right?
Yes.
Because otherwise the mind will just keep going, right?
Yes. So even so you've reminded me then. So notice when your mind's even going. So whether it's, so some people are going to be more of the mind, some people are going to be more of the body. So some people are going to experience anxiety in their thoughts. Other people will know straight away anxiety is in my body. So that's really good, either or. So when I notice myself in a state of something, when some anxiety, some stress is coming on in that moment, someone's shouting at me, the kids, whatever it is, you might notice yourself in a shortness of breath. So this is why we call it gasp. So in those moments of that, it's to take that gasp, and you can do this now, and really take that breath all the way down to your stomach. So you should be feeling your stomach expand. So a lot of people are operating from breathing chest. So this is really taking this down to here. So noticing yourself in that moment, breathe, straight off, take that breath. So you're in the moment, there's something going on, you can still breathe in this. So the G stands for, the G is for grounding. So in that moment, ground yourself. So whether it's your bum on the seat, whether you're standing up, whatever's going on, feel your feet on the ground, feel your bum on the seat. So it's bringing your awareness outside of the thinking mind into presence. So I can feel my, as you did earlier even, these things. So touching yourself. So touching getting yourself, grounding yourself into presence outside of your thinking mind. So that's G, grounding. So A, awareness, and S, senses, sensations. So awareness of, this person is talking to me. This person is shouting at me. So you're not thinking, you're not talking to yourself, you're with them in their whatever's going on. So even when you're in conversation with someone, how often do you might notice or not notice how much we talk to ourselves in our head while someone's talking. So when we're bringing awareness to our senses and our external environment, we're no longer in here, we're with. So right now, there's an aeroplane outside. You can hear my voice. What can you see? You might be able to see me or Petra. You might be looking at the walls. You might have your eyes closed. You might be asleep. So it's really getting into it to your senses. You might, what smells can I smell? But not thinking this. It's about being in it. So it's awareness into your senses. And it might be I can feel my heart beating. So be with that rather than thinking my heart's beating. And then your posture. So P is for posture. So the more open you are in your posture, the more present you can experience, the more presence you'll experience. Whilst you're hunched over your desk, whatever it is, you're not. The more open you can be, your heart's open, you're more present in this state of posture. So it's really, so I'm at my desk and I'm typing away, I've got this deadline. So gasp, breathe whilst you're typing. Be aware of the keys. Do the touching, whatever that is. What can I hear? Can I feel the air conditioning on my skin? So it's really bringing that awareness outside of thinking mind into the present moment, into the body, into the presence. So outside of here is, because whilst we're in here, we're just fucking ourselves, we're struggling ourselves constantly with that. So while someone's shouting at me, they want something, can I be with them? And from that place, you're going to respond rather than react and, shout back, cry, whatever it is. Even if you do want to shout back, at least you've had the chance to do it from a place of awareness rather than a place of reaction.
I'm responding to you by shouting, but I'm aware I'm doing that.
Yeah, well, exactly. And it's not because it's not to say that shouting's bad. It's not to label any of our behaviour, but am I doing it consciously? Yeah. If I'm consciously shouting back at you because that's what's required right here and now, I'm not triggered by it, but this is what's needed in this moment so that this person might or might not listen to me. So it's really that. It's really just bringing ourselves, and wherever we are, that's the beauty of this, is to be able to go gasp.
That's a nice one.
Yeah.
So what I've really taken from this situation, or this discussion, is that purpose is really in the presence.
Yeah.
That's
Absolutely.
really what I got there.
That's it.
You know, purpose is really in the presence.
Yeah.
And using the gasp method, we can come into the present moments. And that is beautiful because we're often not there.
Yeah.
And when we are there, we can see what's really going on. We can feel what's really going on.
Yeah.
So that's it.
That's it. I love that. That's just the perfect
roundup.
That's it. That's absolutely it. It's all here now.
Present purpose present. Presently purpose. Purposely present.
Exactly.
Purposely present.
Love that.
I am totally coining that, but you can use it if you like.
No, you go for it. This isn't mine. You know, and that's the thing. All of this stuff that I speak it's not mine. You know, I've learned this stuff, and I've learned none of this stuff is ours. You know, we're learning this stuff, and we're then able to take this out into the world to help change humanity, but it doesn't belong to anyone. It's like your Sadhguru saying, it's here. It's not copyright or trademarked. It's helping raise, the consciousness.
Yes, and what I really want to sort of practically as well take away is that give shit a go. Like, first of all, so if you're feeling unfulfilled and if you're feeling you're looking for purpose, go and do something about it first. Whether it's getting a coach or getting a book or listening to a podcast, but then there has to be sort of some sort of initiation to get a better experience, to change what we are doing. Yeah. And then just give it a go. Yeah,
and give it the meaning that it's going to work for you.
Yeah, exactly.
So give it a go with that meaning.
And so whether it works, and if it doesn't work for you, then that's okay. There's nothing wrong with you.
Exactly.
There's nothing wrong with the program. There's nothing wrong with your intentionality of looking for something more than something more than what you have. It just means that wasn't the right. That wasn't. I'm really conscious of my language, but that just didn't work for you.
Exactly.
So give something else a go.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's really beautiful. And really for the start is just be present and really check what's going on.
Yeah.
Like if you're looking for that purpose, awaken to the now.
Yeah.
That's really what it is.
Yeah.
Awaken to the now.
Yeah. And that's it. And it's like you said earlier, that word choice. So once we can be awake in the now, then whatever, whether we want to be a yoga teacher or we want to be an astronaut or whatever that is, know that that's then a choosing. So I'm choosing to do that. My purpose here now, but the choice of what I do is not my identity, it's the choice of what I do. I'm choosing to, because that's when we can struggle ourselves. I want to, my purpose is to be a yoga teacher, and then I break a leg. I've got no purpose in life. So what have I got no value on this planet now because I now can't teach yoga because I've broken my leg and I'm never going to be able to. So what now? So that's the struggle with that, is when we identify ourselves with our purpose existing in something outside of us. The struggle then, when the kids move out of home, well, what's my purpose now? The kids have gone. Well, you're still purposeful as a human being just because the kids have moved out. But when we identify with, these labels, it's a struggle when they're gone.
Labels.
If they go, it's,
And really, it really does come down to mind. Yeah. Like all of it, as you say, we've attached meaning to it. But that's a very deep conversation, which is, something that when you're ready, you can go there. But for now, it's just a nice introduction to just remind women that search is unnecessary because it's here.
Yeah, definitely.
So, how can people get a hold of you?
So, there will be details underneath, I see. Should we say that?
Oh, when they spruik your website.
So Facebook, Anita Tomecki is the name. At Anita Tomecki on Instagram. They're my main channels of finding me. And I always say to people, just reach out. For me, it's all about the face-to-face. The amount of clients that I meet because I've met them at a party or on a bench in Bondi or whatever that is. So just reach out.
You're hanging out with the homeless people in Bondi. Are there homeless people in Bondi Beach?
We're all homeless. We can't afford to pay rent in Bondi.
Hanging out on the beach.
We just hang out on benches.
And Bondi, everyone's fucking beautiful in Bondi. I don't know what the fuck they put in that water, but honestly.
So in terms of workshops as well,
Yes.
that's I'd love to advertise that. So my sense is that the next workshop that's on is going to be before this is, because it's next week.
Oh, yes.
So I would love to add any sort of workshops, any details of that. There's online stuff that we do as well. So dates for that I will be able to provide to you so that we can show
cool.
that
Yeah,
on.
I'll put that in the show
There's
notes.
always stuff that we're doing. But yeah, it tends to come up. There'll be probably stuff programmed in just before this comes out, because we're constantly just putting stuff out there as and when it arises. So yeah, we'll do that way.
We'll pop it in the show notes. That sounds awesome.
Yeah. And I say to people, just contact me. Like if you are moved to contact me, have a chat, come and meet me, have a phone call, whatever, then do it. This is what this work's all about for me. It's the face-to-face, it's the speaking to. Websites and that is great. It's all that social media stuff is great, but the one-on-one interaction. No one ever asks me what my qualifications are. That doesn't get asked. It's the interaction. How can I help you? It's in that. So
yeah, very cool.
Yeah.
So the final and my favourite question.
I think you've answered.
But I'll ask it.
You asked me now. I'm stealing that one.
Is what is your red hot truth? And how are you living it?
So the red hot truth for me is as we've spoken about, is it's all here now. The purpose is here now. It's all here for us. So am I living it? So it's an ever evolving, ongoing process of, yes, there is definitely more time for me spent in the now as the days go on and on. Do I 100% live in the now? No, that's just if I can achieve that, if that clears to that in however many years' time, then thank you. But for now, yes, it's an evolution of so.
Yeah, that's lovely. I remember interviewing Adelaide Bond, and she's an author from France, and she said it beautifully. And what you're alluding to is she says, the truth for me is that there is no truth because there's only the moment.
Love it.
Because truth, there is none.
Yeah.
It just is.
Yeah.
And I was like, that'd be nice to get to there.
Yeah.
Oh, it's over to get to, right?
Yeah.
God,
yeah. And that's the thing. It's not a getting to. Nothing to
right?
get. Yeah. And that's
it.
But that's what we do. We think that and really if we can really see it as when we were born into nothingness. Like we were literally born into silence. Obviously there's a lot of noise, but there wasn't all this noise. So really what we are born into is that emptiness, and it's like we spend our whole lives then, after we've programmed ourselves, trying to now get back to what we were born into. So it's all there. It's just what's getting in the way of us realising what we were born as, which is that stillness and peace, even though we might have been crying, but there wasn't this struggle and thinking mind. So it's always going back to here. I wasn't born into this thinking mind.
Yeah, and that's the beautiful thing about it, because it's learned programming. So anything that's learned can be unlearned, and it's never, the beautiful thing is it's never I am. It's never I am. That's it. That's the label. Yeah. I am nothing. Like I am nothing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's where I'll stop that, because I think that could go off another track. But that's the beauty. When you get that, really get it. Something to lecture, really get that. Yeah. I am nothing. I don't even need to use those words because they don't exist. That is where it's at. And I'm not there. And I haven't reached that inquiry yet. It
sounds like you have. You've reached some inquiry. But you have. The fact that it's even being said is your inquiry.
That's amazing, right? So just living from that space is really amazing. Right, we need to stop talking. Right, Anita, thank you. Always nice to chat with you. And and I trust that this will really it was a bit more of a higher level conversation, but I think it will resonate in wherever it needs to. So thank you for your time. So exciting.
Thank you.
Hello, fabulous woman on fire. I trust that this interview helped you get closer to your red hot truth. So give it a thumbs up, Remember to subscribe. Thank you for supporting the Red Hot Truth, and we'll see you next time.